All right. Let's do a thing. Let's get started. Let me see. Oh, two favorite ZBrush streams at the same time. Who's the other one? That's interesting. Let me see. I gotta get this ZBrush live. ZBrush 2. Oh no. Here, let's Good golly. Where is my webcam? Morning, Leonard. I'm trying to get my webcam working. For some reason, it doesn't seem like it wants to work, which is really weird. Wow. I wonder what's going on. It's like for some reason it won't. It won't let me use my webcam. Did I unplug it? I must have unplugged it. I see. Let's see if we can get this to work. It's always something, right? It's exactly right. Good golly, it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to. Okay, does this work? There we go. Yes, I figured it out. You just got to tell it to stop and start again, I guess. You know, turn it off, turn it back on. All that jazz. Okay. Yes. But now we're good. Now we are good. We can get this party started. How's everybody doing today? Okay. I am personally very ready to get this show on the road. Hey, dude, looking sharp. All right. So for those of you who standard fix for everything, yeah. Wet and rainy. It is wet and rainy. Although it's, I guess it really hasn't rained here yet. It's definitely very gray and cloudy over here, but yeah, no, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Okay, so for those of you who have been here for the past few weeks, I think like the last 2 or 3 weeks, however long we've been working on this, I've been working on this new female base mesh character. Now, I think one of the things that feels a bit off to me is like some of the proportion stuff. So I want to go ahead and fix some of the proportion stuff. What we did last week is we went ahead, we played with the fingers. We got the fingers to feel a little bit more designed instead of feeling like straight and you know, simply tapered. We played with some designing of the forearms and arms. I think we played with kind of refining some of the anatomy cues in her face, in her chest. I think a little bit in her stomach and in her pelvis as well. We haven't really done a whole lot to her legs, though I think I need to kind of play around with this a little bit. It's feeling a little bit too sharp. I want it to feel a little bit more feminine, a little bit more graceful. So I think something like that will feel a little bit nicer. Still getting like a little bit of a peak right there, a little bit of an apex. So you're getting like a curve, and then it kind of has a little bit of a break. Change in acceleration of that curve kind of comes down, and then it kind of comes out. At some point, I'll probably want to kind of build in some ankles I'm not sure when I want to do that. I'll probably try to do that at some point soon, though. Otherwise, I mean, she's looking pretty good. She's really pretty ready to go, I think. I do kind of want to play around with some proportion stuff today, though. Okay, let me turn on. I think I should still have, yeah. So I've got like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 heads. Okay, there's a little bit of an extra gap in there. I think what I want to do is I want to take the upper half. Well, it's more than a half, I guess. I'm gonna take everything. Oops, I don't want the shoes though. Come on, you. Okay, so we got the shoes. Why is it not moving around the center? I'm like blown away. Okay, so I want to take this, maybe pull her down just a little bit. Just so that there's a little bit less height to her lower leg. In fact, we might even want to take that just a little bit further, but from the middle of the leg right there. Okay, I'm gonna just a little bit further. And then I want to try to play with the scale of the head. This is something that I think will be kind of interesting to play with. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. I think by playing with the scale of the head a little bit, maybe making it a little bit larger, I think that that'll help it to feel a little bit more. You really stacked the heads. Yes, I do. How you doing, Cyberdelic? Cyberdelic Alchemy. That's a pretty fun username, actually. Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what? I gotta soften out my mask. Okay. Let's go ahead and center that. So now what I want to do is, here, let's hide those so we know that we're not controlling the clothing. We're just going to be controlling the body and everything attached to the head. Curious if I were to just elongate the face just a little bit. I'm liking that. That's working. It's like this. It's the subtle things, right? Kind of just a matter of going through and pushing and pulling things a little bit. Let's see how we can do now. I want to make her chair. I think that making her chair will be a good move for us. So let's do this. I'm going to open up. Let's load that spotlight. It's this one right here. So this is kind of what we're shooting for, and I'm actually going to take this up because I think that that'll be a little bit better. One, you guys will be able to see that a little bit more nicely. Okay, let's turn off the. Oh gosh, I always do things and then I feel like I regret it pretty instantly. Because now it feels like it's a little bit too... maybe a little bit too large. Or maybe it's something to do with like the arms and the arm length. So let's try this. Let's try something, right? Let's grab... Control-Shift-D just to make sure that we're working on something that's spare and extra, right? Oops. Let's grab this, let's grab that. So what I want to do is have just an arm, right? Okay, let's get rid of that so we don't need it. Okay, and I'm going to say geometry, delete higher, modify topology, delete hidden. And I only need one, so, you know, let's get rid of one. Let's do this, Control Shift A, delete hidden. Okay, so now we can take this and kind of lower it down so that it's at her side. Get kind of like this Vitruvian woman sort of effect. Let's make sure this is maybe on the other side. Oh, it says light rain's coming, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so far as landmarks, I mean, her elbow's coming to about the right spot, and then we've got her fingertips coming to about the right spot. So yeah. I think the arms are all right. I wonder if it's still just that the legs are just a little bit long, but I don't want to, I don't know. I still want her to be stylized, so we're going to keep her. I think this will probably work. This feels like it'll probably work. Okay, so I'm going to say let's turn off that. I'm going to, let's come up and let's actually rename this arm. Okay. So now for the sake of not losing our work, let's go ahead and save it. And then let's go ahead and start making that chair. I make you want to make sculpting. Oh, good. Yeah, sculpting's fun. Sculpting is a lot of fun. Today what we're going to be doing, it involves a lot more, what's it called? Like modeling, like actual modeling. So I don't know how much we'll actually sculpt, but we'll say. Let's go ahead and let's say, let's make a folder. Let's say Control F. Character. Okay, so this needs to go up. All right. Cool. So now we've got our character in a group. I could have like really simplified that step a second ago, but I chose not to for some reason. Whatever. What an early save. I'm about to save again since I don't want to lose that. It's a simple thing, but you know, you do what you can, right? All right, let's see. Let's say append. And I don't really care what it is at this point. It's just going to be kind of whatever it is. I'm just going to shrink it down. Doesn't really matter what it is at this moment. But what I do want to do is I want to take my IMM primitives and get a simple cube in here. We're going to start blocking this in. And so we can see, based on this image, we can see kind of where different parts of the couch come up to, and we're going to use her body to be able to measure these things because we want her to fit on this chair nicely. So, and then eventually, when we get to taking it into Maya, and this is something that I'll be doing in my own streams or in my own time. It should, in theory, yeah, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Oh well. Oh well. Oh well. It's like I was pretty sure that there was a way. I think like if technically if you have everything masked and then you or I guess the other thing that I could do, let's do this just for the sake of making sure that everything is the same. I'm going to say Control Shift D. Take this out of that poly group, or sorry, out of that group, and then I'm going to grab my sphere just to make sure that this is working as I expect. I'm going to say no. Other way around, I guess, so that everything's brought down to that level, and everything else should be untouched. Awesome. Okay, so let's do this. That looks like it's about the height that I would like, and obviously, you know, this is going to be the chair plus the cushion, so I'm going to have to split that out at some point, but it'll be fun. It's interesting to go back to my early sculpts and fix it for sure. Leonard, you're too kind. Buena, Juma. ¿Cómo te va, loco? Alright, let's go ahead. Let's start modeling out this chair. Botas. No, they're boots. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make sure that this has symmetry turned on. We're going to start using our Z modeler. I'm going to make sure everything's the same poly group for right now. And just for the sake, let's just come over here. I'm just going to block in widths. Okay, so let's go ahead and do something kind of like that. Oh, you know what? Let's keep it up here for a minute. It looks like it's kind of split into thirds. We might change that at some point so that it feels a little bit more dynamic. Okay, let's actually go through as well and give ourselves. Oh, here, let's do this too. Let's say just to be able to make sure we have a center line to work from. This way our symmetry can work. Yeah, so we got this sort of thing going on. Okay, so now for this chair, okay, there are a few things that we can kind of determine from it. And things that I want to pay attention to. Let me actually open up the image so that we can look at it directly. Here we are. Okay, so here's the image. Okay, so it's got like this backing that kind of rises. It's got this this rounded backing. So I want to keep that in mind as I'm modeling this out. Here, I'm going to go ahead and split polygroups here so that we've got some make some separate polygroups so that we have sections. Let's kind of pull that back some. Create a polygroup or a loop there. This is going to be the chair. In fact, let's do this way. I'm going to just kind of model this in using an IMM primitive. Let's do something like this. Let's raise this up. Q mesh. So we get rid of that part. So now we've got this, you know, this bit here that's going to be useful. This is going to be what we use, right? I've got to kind of think about also the width of the chair so that it's, you know, uniform and working. So things are lining up. And I mean, we did line this up with that. So I mean, maybe it's a matter of just taking this and maybe making this bit of the chair, maybe overall just making the chair just a little bit more squat. And let's go ahead and select this. We'll make its own polygroup here, so that way we can go ahead and say extrude polygroup island, and we're just gonna like hold shift when we're extruding that so that it just pulls it out rather than extruding it out, right? I don't want to have a whole lot of extra edge loops in there, because then it just makes for a mess, right? So let's do that. We're gonna also make a polygroup for the top so that this can be more easily controlled. Oh boy, what happened? Huh. C'est intéressant, ça. Okay. There we go. That'll work. You see, now we're good. Now we're golden. Okay, so let's raise this up. It looks like it doesn't have to be too tall, but we're gonna play with this and make sure that we're good. Let me see. I'm going to say unweld. Where is it? Unweld groups border. There we go. So this way we have this bit that it's separate now. Okay. And in fact, just for the sake of making sure that we don't have edge loops where we don't need them, we can just grab that. I'm going to say bridge edges. Make sure that I have complete surfaces here. Extrude single poly. We'll just I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. Not a lot, but a little bit. And that'll help. Hopefully. Hopefully. Okay. Lots of things to do to make things work great. Okay. So with this backing, I feel like this is going to come up fairly high. Let's say we'll make it kind of a square-like shape. Now the ends are not going to come up quite as high. So what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. Because I want to have, here, let's actually say split to parts. Let's put it into a folder, call it chair, and we'll say split to parts. Split to parts. Okay. So we'll say backing. Cushion. Base. Okay. So with the back of the chair, the shape that it is, I'm also going to want, well, one, the cushion's going to need to be modeled to fit in that shape. The base is going to need to be modeled to fit that shape. So, you know, those are some things that I got to think about. And I think right now it feels a little bit too perfectly round. I kind of want to take this center area here, and it's a Let's get just that bit there. Let's make sure that's masked. We'll invert our mask. And let's just kind of like scale it out. This way we have a little bit of a taper to the actual thickness. And we'll see what we get by playing with this some. Yeah, maybe not. Let's see. Let's do something kind of like that. Okay. And then to be able to get kind of the shape that I want here, I'm just going to take ZModeler. We're going to say insert. I'm going to say multiple edges. So I've got a couple different ideas that I'm tossing around in my head right now. One is having kind of a rounded corner here. This one has more of a corner. Oh, you think it's a swivel chair, huh? Yeah, I mean, it could be worth looking at a reference, but I don't know. I kind of want to be lazy with it. Here, let's go ahead and say keep polygroups. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that's centered. I'm going to say deformer. Come on, you. Oh my goodness. It doesn't want to work. Okay, there we go. So here we go. There's that. And since I want to have, oh, here, let me see. I guess it didn't want to work with symmetry. So we're going to have to do this again. Let's let's kind of come over here. We'll just mask this. We'll just kind of lower this down. It's like I still want to keep that center masked, and then okay, there we go. There we go. In fact, let's go ahead and let's mask this all out, and we'll kind of get a little bit more of this going on here. So that way we have a good little kind of fall off happening in here. And then, you know, we can kind of start to mess this up a little bit now that we have everything kind of in place. Here, let's hit accept. A little bit more of a lean back so that it feels a bit more like a chair. The backs of chairs always have a little bit more of a lean back. Stop trying to adjust the character. We're trying to get the chair. We're trying to fix your chair, lady. Yeah, it's a little bit something like that. It does feel a little bit large though. Like maybe it's just a little too tall. Make it a little bit shorter. I don't know. Might have to go in and look for a reference like Leonard was saying. Poor guy, he's got a background in furniture design and he's watching me try to make furniture. He's like, just look at reference. Let's go ahead and do something like this. Do something like this. And then we can say, Q mesh, please. There we go. Okay, that way we get rid of that. Now we have our little cushion shape, sort of, right? This is going to need to be rounded out, so we'll go through and we'll fix that here in a minute. Should be really quite simple to fix. Let's go through, get rid of that, and then if we come over here, we can say collapse edge, so that way we get something going like this. And topology wise, that just rounded out our topology. So now we can go ahead and we can kind of make that fit. Yeah, I probably should size it down quite a bit. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, let's go ahead and take this. Maybe I'll keep it a little bit taller, but I don't make it smaller like that. And I think that's starting to feel a little bit better. Okay, so anyway, here's what we were doing. So we've got our chair now, and it's got that the topology to be able to make that shape. So let's go ahead and let's grab these bits in here. We'll just kind of pull this in. Pull this in. So now we got this rounded cushion shape. Okay. I think 1950s. That's a good tip. That's a good tip. Pull this down so that it meets the top of the bottom part of the chair. And you know what I might actually do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to say insert single edge loop, just so that we have something that's there. Let's go ahead and let's get rid of this back half, and I'm just going to take the back end of this the back end of this. The thing here, let's just grab this. Let's kind of scale this down. And then from here, let's go ahead and kind of scale this in so that it makes a little bit more of that bucket sort of feel. That's kind of the shape that I want it to have. It's kind of that. I mean, obviously, not a horseshoe, but like that sort of half circle, semicircle with like a flat end here. I do want this section of the cushion to be more narrow though. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna grab this real quick and easy. Just control, click, and drag. And that's going to just extrude out our points. Now, how far we want that to go, we'll have to kind of gauge it once we get a little bit more, once we get a little bit further along. Yeah, let's just get rid of that and get rid of that. We don't need stuff at the moment. Let's say slide, kind of slide that down. I want it sliding in, or like slanting in toward the center more than I have it, flat or tilted toward the outside. Because of the way that it feels like the roundness of the cushion flowing over the top is. So we're going to do something kind of like that. Let's go ahead and we'll say mask edge loop partial. Let's kind of scale it a little bit more so we get a little bit more of a taper in here. Now it feels more like a throne, and I don't want it to feel like a throne. Let's... it's all part of the process, right? That's starting to feel better. I can't wait to see me render in Redshift. I won't be rendering in Redshift today. Possibly not even tomorrow. No. So I'm currently working in ZBrush 2022. Yeah, I haven't been able to upgrade yet. I don't know when I'll get the opportunity to. I hope to be able to at some point. There are some really neat new features inside of the new ZBrush, but it's a money commitment, and since I still have access to ZBrush 2022, might as well keep at it. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna say Control 1. Control W, make sure those are just, you know, 2 poly groups, and we don't really technically even need this edge loop in here. Or that one. Let's just do this. I'm going to say split. Let's do this first. Let's say bridge 2 edges so that we can close this up. Control W, Control W. That way we have 2 poly groups. We're going to say group split. Bridge that to there. Bridge this to there. Because one of the things that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to make... Don't have any spare organs to sell, huh? Do you still have your appendix? That might be like the closest thing you get. Oh, they got rid of the ZRemesher Legacy option, huh? I don't remember that. Huh. So far as this goes, you know what, I'm going to have to take this up just a little bit. Yeah, because like I was part of the beta for ZBrush 2023. But it's like because of my computer specs, I'm working off of a laptop. I have the whole time I've used ZBrush. I've never had like a real nice desktop computer. So, you know, the hope is to be able to get one at some point. Just haven't been able to do so yet. So we'll have to see kind of what it is that we... yeah, I've got a... Oops. Let's go ahead and kind of make that so it hangs down. Yeah, at some point, I'm going to get myself that new computer, and then I'll be able to do all the stream. Okay, I want to take, let me see, base. I'm pretty sure it's this one. But I want, let me see, let's do this. Merge that down. So this way we can go ahead and we can start to merge things together and make this a real thing, right? Let's go ahead and say insert. So much going on, so much going on. Okay, let's get rid of that. Mirror and weld, so we've got the same on both sides. It's kind of odd that it goes through and sometimes and it messes up your symmetry, right? Let's go ahead and fix that. Say stitch to end point. That's great. Oh, come here, you. Stitch, stitch. Stitch, stitch. Come on, you. There we go. Come on. Come on, I know you want to. There you go. Boom. Okay, so now we've got this sort of thing going on. And I think at some point I want this to stop angling down. So I'm going to try to grab let's do something like this. So this way it kind of comes down and it just drops. In fact, probably have that happen like further up. This cushion's going to need to kind of thin out some. Bring that down. And I want to get like kind of like a large, medium, small sort of effect going on here. And I'm not entirely sure yet which needs to be what. I kind of like the idea of having this this skirt. I'll say the skirt, the that should be fine. The chair skirt. I want that possibly to be a little bit flowier. So, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this and bring this up a little bit. Okay, let's take the actual cushion and we'll just lower it a little bit further. And we'll take this middle section and center that. We'll just kind of squish this down a little bit, so that way we get kind of like this this large, medium, and small sort of effect. Large, medium, small. Small is kind of in the middle. Take a step back. I don't know that I nice toilet. Not a toilet. I do want this to angle out more though, so this is going to be something that we'll play with. Let's go ahead and put that in there. So we have a little bit more something to rely on. And this is something that we can go ahead and maybe like squish it out a little bit. Just give it a little bit of flair. There'll be a lot of like pushing and pulling things as we get further along in the actual sculpt of this, but it's starting to work, I guess. Okay. So I want this to feel a little bit more organic. So we're just trying to push and pull things gently so that we get so we get what we're looking for. Okay. These things at some point are going to need to be modeled together, I think. And in fact, the actual chair skirt might be something that we go ahead and we split off and model onto it. So like it's not actually attached per se. It's just modeled to look that way. Let's do this. We'll say delete hidden. Let's turn off that cushion. Okay, let's see. I want to get rid of this polygon, so I'm just going to make sure that that's isolated, and now it's gone. So let's go ahead, geometry, delete hidden. Same thing here, we want to isolate these and get rid of them, so we're going to say delete hidden, so now they're gone. Let's start kind of putting things together. Let's do this. There's a lot of thinking that has to happen when you're when you're modeling something, and sometimes I'm just overthinking because it's been a long week. Yeah, say bridge edges, and we'll just start here. Let's turn off the character level because group, because we don't really need it at the moment. Do you need this to here? We need this. You know what? Let's do this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now same thing. Let's go ahead and we'll say, let's get rid of this center loop here just for the sake of simplicity and being able to bridge things together and not have to worry about as much. Okay, now this is where I'm going to want to bring that loop back in. So let's say mirror and weld. Say insert. Let's go ahead and kind of flatten this down. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is masked out. We want to take these and kind of flatten them down too, just so that they're all on the same plane. Oh no! Let's not grab that because I don't want that back to be all messed up. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead and slide these. This is going to need to come over a bit so that we have a bit more room for another edge loop to kind of come through, so we can bridge to between here and here. So we can go bridge there to there, bridge there to there. So now we've got this section nice and let's say sample, spotlight projection. This sample, this sample. Oh, samples. Costco. Good grief. Hola, Diego. Saludos a Peru. Yeah, so let's kind of get this. It feels like it's got a little bit too much height. So I mean, it's worth playing with. It's worth kind of figuring out, but it's, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of that going on. Gracias, compadre. Yeah, I speak Spanish. It's a stitch to end point. Stitch to the end point, please. Please. Stitch. It's right there. Should be really easy for you. And in fact, maybe what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll say stitch hole. Ah. There we go. Oh no, that's messy. Why is that messy? Oh, it's because there are too many points. Okay, I see. Let's get this fixed then. Okay, so not everything's gonna line up perfectly, but we can go ahead, we can close this now. Go back to stitch. Here, we'll go ahead and we'll make this so that it's a little bit more straight up and down, and then we'll, when we make the chair skirt, we'll make that flare out a little bit more. You totally would be one of those sample hoarders at Costco, wouldn't you? Like, oh, thank you, oh, thank you, oh, thank you. You go make the rounds, you come back and, oh, thank you, oh, thank you, thank you. Nah, that's funny. Yeah, samples at Costco. I don't get out to Costco very often because I much prefer Sam's Club. I feel like, yeah, let's go down here. Let's get some better poly groups worked out. And let's say regroup by symmetry or group similar. What's it called? Let me see. Merge similar groups. Okay, cool. So that should work now. Even for the sake of making sure, we just come back in here, just make sure that that's the same, so that we got the same groups on each side. It's just helpful. All right. Let's go ahead and turn that cushion back on. Oh, turn off some solo so we can see it. Solo. Yeah. So AI technically has always been a part of ZBrush. If you think about things like Dynamesh, or ZRemesher. Those are AI tools. It's going through and trying to use a smart algorithm to figure out kind of where edges need to be placed. Sorry, just hit the microphone. That music might be a little bit too loud. Let me see. Can you guys still hear the music? Is it too loud? Is it loud enough? But yeah, it's so I mean it's not to the extent of things like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney or those other sorts of models where they sample everybody's art, where they steal shamelessly, and create something super cool with it. Yeah, the whole AI art thing is super sensitive subject. I'm sure that a lot of you have varying opinions on it. But we're not going to worry about making this huge discussion about it all. Because I mean, I think it is a discussion to be had. But I feel like anytime you're trying to replace the talent, I think that you're going about it the wrong way. I think that you're trying to replace the wrong task. You're trying to replace what's making us human instead of making tools that replace the things that allow us to be human. And that gets, I guess, to be really kind of a tricky, hard thing. But yeah, so far as AI inside of ZBrush, yeah, I mean it's always been there. Yeah, ZBrush has AI. That's actually helpful. Yes. Yes. Okay. So right here, I mean, we have like a ton of edges filtering into the center here. And so one of the things I want to try to be aware of and try to be careful of is that I want to make sure that I'm getting this to go back to the back and bridging nicely. Yeah, let's do a couple of things. I'm going to say display double so we can see, let's say geometry, mirror and weld. So what we need to do is we need to know how many of these edges from the front from this blue poly group need to kind of rainbow around in order to make this all work. And the first thing I'm going to do is that I know for sure I want this this middle group to go to this middle group. So I'm going to say bridge edges. Let's get that. So we'll put that across. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have really this is all going to be arch. So this is essentially done. Like this needs to be arching through the rest of the way. So let's go ahead and we'll say slide. Let's see. In fact, we'll probably get this to go here. And then these three are going to need to go around. So we'll go ahead and we'll say insert single edge loop 1, 2, and then we're going to need a third one to be able to make it so that it works. So we're going to say 1, 2, say bridge, boom, 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 And so you see the reason we add that extra edge loop in here so that we can bridge these two together and have it so we have that four-pointed surface there. Polygon. Cool. I'm going to make sure this is its own poly group so that in case I need to use any kind of bridging tool again, I can go back and use it without worrying whether it'll work or not. All right. Cool. So now we've got the base for our chair, right? Let's go ahead and say insert. Hold on, give me a second. So it should hopefully going to be cool. Are you going to use Redshift render in the end or an external render? I'm going to use Maya. I'm unless I pull the trigger on updating to ZBrush 2023, which I might, for the reason that I'm an instructor. So I have the option of being able to do the Maxon 1 with the student pricing. So it's a very different position for me where it'd be essentially $20 a year, which is probably the lightest license pricing I've ever had in my life. You know, it's kind of crazy. So far, no, they haven't given us any kind of offer like that. Though to be fair, I haven't asked, so it's something that I'll have to look into. 'Cause, I mean, it makes sense, you know. Company paying for its employees to have software, it makes sense. Slide edge loop partial. Let's get this to kind of come down a little bit. That's wrong. So let's say mirror. Did I see Quentin in there? Don't forget to save. Thanks, brother. Let's go ahead and kind of take this in, maybe take this in, have something kind of like this, and then we'll slide this in, slide this in, slide this in, and slide it down as well. This, I don't know. It's all kind of tricky. It's like I'm trying to figure out kind of how I want to balance things out. I know that I need to have some sort of supporting edge around the back here so that it keeps that corner nice. So that's what it'll look like, kind of smoothed out. So I still need to add in a supporting edge down along the bottom and along this front corner. However close I put that to whatever it is that I'm, trying to control, trying to keep sharp, the closeness to those points, that's what's going to help keep that shape. So I need to kind of like work on some of this shaping, and I think that a lot of this shaping will come in a lot when I figure out, when I kind of sculpt it out, I guess. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what we do with it. Okay, let's grab these points. Kind of pull them forward. shrink it in a little bit. You know, just all the normal Saturday morning sort of stuff. You know what? This is going to need to kind of like get a little bit whiter right here. Apparently there are a few things missing from the new ZBrush, though jury is out on if it's a bug or not. You think they'd want all their streamers on the newest version? I agree. Dude, I'm doing pretty well. It's it's been a while. We need to get together sometime. I still need to get together with Leonard too. Poor guy. I mean, I've got his ornament here sitting on my desk and it's still not done. Let me see. This can probably come forward a little bit. You know what? It's maybe a little bit too much. Something like that. And then for the sake of making sure that this is as nice as I can make it, I guess, let's come over here and let's say, oh, you know what? Let's not add in supporting edges first. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say Control W. Control W. So that way we've got different polygroups on the top and on the bottom. I'm going to say Inset Polygroup Island. And we're just going to, change it to standard. I really wish that this was the standard way of using the brush, because I don't know why equidistant is going, standard should be equidistant. But equidistant goes through and it like remeshes everything in a weird way. So does she have bones? Does who have bones? Empty place in your heart, poor guy. Say extrude polygroup island. Just kind of make that so that it feels a little bit more inflated, a little bit rounder. So now as we hit our smooth preview, it looks kind of odd, right? So in order to fix this, we're gonna have to add in like an extra support edge here, and an extra support edge over here, and probably one over here, so that we get that corner. This corner, we're gonna need to support that, okay? So now we're getting a better fit around the edge of that, okay? The rest of the cushion, it looks like it fits all right. I mean, we can go through and we can add in some subdivisions and make it so that it works a little bit better. In fact, yeah, let's do it manually because I think that might be best for us. Okay, and just kind of smooth this out so that it's not creating issues. I can smooth this out too so that it's not creating issues either. This center area here, having that being kind of nice and evenly topologized, evenly spaced out topology is going to be helpful for us so that we don't have to worry about so we don't have to worry about much. Okay, let's go ahead and let's grab this and kind of slide it out. In fact, I want to make sure that that center area stays exactly where it is. This looks like it's all good now. So I'm just going to kind of slide this out a bit more. Slide this out a bit more so that it's just more even, right? Okay, so we're going to insert a couple of edge loops here and here. Okay, so right now it looks really rigid. It looks really kind of like almost manufactured. Like it doesn't look like it's soft couch. Yeah, dude, Mikkel's the boss. He's awesome, and I think he could totally do with a lunch date. So yeah, we should do that sometime. Okay, along here on the top, I'm just going to kind of soften this, and I'm going to give it a little bit, not a ton, but hopefully not too much. I'm going to say give it just like a little bit of polish. That's way too much. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come into layers. I'm going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to go in and give it just like a teeny tiny little touch of polish. Okay, so you can see like that's giving it some polish. Come on, you. Okay, that's too much. It's like that's so much. Okay, let's kind of soften that. Just by like one. Okay, that's a ton of polish. I mean, it does make it feel a lot softer, makes it feel a lot cushier, but it's not quite the look that we want. And at some point, we're going to be able to use the topology to be able to model in seams. But yeah, definitely needs to be able to tune it back. So this is why we have this layer here. So now I can go through and can kind of tweak how much of that I want to have it go away. Okay, that feels much better. Maybe a little bit more, something like that. See, that feels much better to me. So we can go ahead and we can take this, and now we can say bake. Where's the bake all? There we go. Okay, so now we've got this cushion, and it feels softer. It feels much more like a cushion, like you'd expect, right? So now I want to also go ahead and model in that that skirt. Let's go ahead and add a supporting edge for that top bit right here. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Okay. I'm trying to decide whether or not to model in feet. Every chair deserves its own its own feet to be able to stand on its own feet. Feet of feetness. Let's do it. I'm going to turn off the cushion. And I'm going to bring this in. Let's say I'm in primitives. Let's come over here and let's do something like this. I'm going to create my own little thing. Let's flatten this out. So now we've got like this nice thing here. I'm also going to flatten out the top. Okay, say accept. Now the thing we want to do is we want to just take this top and we just want to elongate that. Take the bottom, center that, and turn on local symmetry, and we're just going to make sure this has a nice taper. So if we're looking at this, this looks, we want it to look like a little foot. I'm not going to have it as a swivel. I think Leonard was saying, yeah, it definitely needs piping, and I'm gonna have like the seams. Actually, probably try to keep this, like, eliminate seams, get rid of seams, like not have seams in the corners, but I'll definitely have piping going around the edges, because that's one of those things that just makes it read like like a like an upholstered chair, right? Um, but yeah, I think instead of having it as a swivel, let me see. Now I'm trying to remember. Was it? Yeah, it was the other way around. Let's grab this. Align to that, please. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and we can pull this up. Pull it up, I guess, one row at a time. Now, these currently feel like they're super chunky. So I'm going to do something kind of like that. That feels much better. And now when we go ahead and make that skirt, it'll kind of come down and cover that a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and hit save because, save it or lose it. There are these Manuka Health lozenges that I absolutely love. They're ginger flavored. My wife gets them for me. I think from like TJ Maxx. Like, I don't know where else to find them, but they're amazing. Great flavor. Love them to death. Okay. So now we've got those feet. I can control, click, and drag. Feet are probably a little offset like that just to be able to support the back as well as possible. Curious if that's enough or if that's right or not. Okay, I need to add in some little edge loops in here. So I'm going to say multiple edge loops. Just going to like pull out 2. Just to help support that shape a little bit better. You know what? We'll do something like that. Just so that way we get a good support edge down around the base of that foot. Makes it kind of nice. It makes it kind of nice. All right. Let's... This outside edge is just way too tight. I'm going to do the same thing. Layers. Make a new layer. Okay, let's go ahead and mask this again. Soften it out. Deformation, we're just going to say polish. Like literally just by 1. Look at how much that softened that out. That's like, wow. In fact, I don't want to affect the bottom area really at all. I really just want to affect the top. So maybe what I'll do is let's mask out that bottom. Just the bottom. There we go. That's better. Okay, now we can soften that out. Give it a polish of like 1 or 2, like as low as I can go, seriously. And now we can come back over here to layers. And we can tweak how much of that effect we get. It's definitely giving it much more of a softened sort of look. Much more of an organic sort of look, and I like that. I think that it's just not quite what I'm wanting quite yet. I'm going to say bake all. I am going to keep that, but I want to go through and manually control some of these points. Let's make sure this isn't masked in any kind of funky way. Okay, currently it has I mean, I'm trying to figure out if it has enough topology for me to be able to go through. I think I need to go through and add some more topology for it to be enough for me to manage to put in the dimpled buttons. I can't think of what the names for those are at the moment. But yeah, those dimpled buttons along the back there, I feel like there's some work to be had there. I love how it's got like, I put this losange into my mouth to suck on it, and I'm totally chewing it up. It's so good. I think one of the things I'll do right now, I'm going to muddle in the butt print. I'm going to model in the butt print so that it feels sat in. ¿Qué buscas? Oh, okay. Okay, these bits out here, I'm going to need to kind of give it just a little bit of lift. And a little, oh, that's a lot of bit of softening. Wow. Let's take this way, way down. So yeah, I want to try to create this sense that this is being used, right? Let's go ahead and I'm going to take off symmetry. I don't need symmetry on anymore. It should be just fine. Let's kind of pull this out just a little bit here. I want to use the clay brush and just kind of lay in some broad strokes to make it feel like there's a presence there. Okay, let's model in that skirt now, and that should hopefully make it. Yeah, Mr. Owl on the Tootsie Pop commercial. That's exactly what it's like. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Pop, to send the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Well, let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 3. What would be your best recommendation to a beginner who wants to get the basics of art? My favorite recommendations, the recommendations that I always give to my students, the recommendations that I give to people here on the channel, that ask that question is to have a project and to, so that you have a goal, right? So right now, this is kind of my goal. I mean, obviously it's going to be a little bit more stylized because stylization is the name of the game, right? So this is my character. And really you just want to find a way to be able to, you know, so you have your goal, and then you find out the steps to go along the journey. It's kind of like Bilbo when he went out with the dwarves and tried to save Middle Earth and everything. It's like, he didn't know what he was doing, and he didn't even really want to go, but but he went and he did it. So it's always kind of an interesting thing, but I feel like definitely defining your journey, by having a goal, having some sort of project idea, something that you're trying to accomplish, and then doing the little things along the way to be able to get there. Now, to be able to get a hold of the basics, it's really just a matter of doing simple exercises. It could be something like if you're trying to get into ZBrush and do, if you want to be a character artist, I would start by doing quick exercises like speed sculpts. Pick a theme or pick a character or something, and try to just in an hour, just in simple. Got something on my feet. In an hour, try to see how far you can get, how close you can get to making it look like the character that you're trying to make, right? And then, and then just, it might start off looking like rubbish. Like, it might look absolutely terrible, and that's okay. Just understand that it's going to be a bit of a process. It's going to be a bit of a journey, and that's just how it goes. But as you continue to practice, as you continue to stick with it, you'll start to see things. You'll start to see your progress go faster, and you'll start to notice how you start picking up on things, like little subtle things. Learn to observe, ask questions while you're sculpting and working on things, like what's making that shape happen, what's there with the anatomy that's needing to, it's going to boost these trust the process. And I mean, it's a process, and that's just kind of how it works out. So yeah. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try. Do I have an alpha mask? No, I don't want to use alphas. I want to actually model things in, because it'll help to make it so that it's more believable. Believe it or not, several years back, one of the jobs that I had was furniture modeling for Crate and Barrel. That was one of my least favorite jobs ever, but it was a job. It was something that I had, I think actually just before I started up at Imagineering. Like that's what I was doing was furniture modeling. Sink that in just a little bit. And I forgot the local symmetry is turned on. Okay, something like that. And in fact, let's go ahead and we'll just kind of make this a little bit straighter, going down, maybe a little bit tapered in, so that it feels a little bit more. I don't know, more structured, I guess. Yeah, gotta pay those bills one digital sofa at a time. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people will go through like digital furniture, or they'll do like digital visualization for something, right? So that could be like shoes. I have a buddy who did shoes for Skechers. I almost did shoes at one point for Yeezy. um, yeah, I'm glad I didn't take that job though. um, I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. So now we have this, and I want to say geometry, delete hidden. Let's go ahead and select that, and then we'll just kind of pull this down. Okay. So a couple of things that we need to keep in mind is that to be able to make this chair skirt work, we need to have pleats here in the corner. Okay. And then these pleats are going to be kind of interesting because it's going to make kind of like this little triangle. So, let me kind of draw out more or less what's going to be happening with this. So these pleats kind of come out and then they double back. Okay. And then it come back out, and then so it's making this sort of shape in the folds and whatnot. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening there. So what I need to do to be able to create that is I need to cry. No, I'm just kidding. Here, let's go ahead and take this and say, let's get rid of that actually. Let's get rid of. Let's get rid of some of these extra edges in here that we don't need. At least that we don't feel like we need quite at the moment. Come on. No. Insert single edge loop. Let's get that in there, something like that. It's okay that it's not aligning perfectly. It'll be better at some point. Okay. Now, I guess technically, people always leave out the crying. I'll work on mustering up those tears. I had an interview last week for an advertising company. They were searching for furniture modelers. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. Yeah, let's look this up, because this might have some good insight to the structure of those folds. Maybe not, but get all sorts of interesting shaped chairs. Here, let's maybe say like with pleated skirt. Okay, it's got a little bit of a something there. That's not anything like what we're looking for. I mean, with some of these, I mean, we can see that it's not really like a pleat. It's more of just a couple of pieces of cloth coming down over it. Oh, here we go. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted right here. This is the kind of pleat that I want. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to say, let's say unweld groups border. Okay. And then let's just get rid of that end right there. This end I'll keep for now. But what reference? Right? Like to learn some fundamentals because I feel like I'm lost when some art fellows talk about shapes, rhythm, etc. More of a science guy. I have no idea how to measure those. Sure, yeah, like shape and rhythm, like that's those are things that you have to learn to observe kind of over time. I mean, I'm still learning how to observe those sorts of things, and my art director at Marvel, he's amazing with it. He's really, really good at the way that he can pick apart a design, the way that he can, figure those sorts of things out. It's really, really cool. Um, and I'm definitely getting better at it, but it's super, super hard for me to get it all the time, right? So I think a lot of what it is one, just be patient with yourself, but two, being able to just ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Um, I think that if somebody's talking about, oh, I love the rhythm, or I love the shapes in that, it's like, well, help me understand what you're seeing here. I want to understand what is it about the shapes that speaks to you, that sort of thing. Um, that sort of question, I feel like, is going to show that, one, you're interested, and two, that you really want to understand. Um, and I think that it's going to help you, as an artist, to get better, and also, just learning from others. It's always super, super handy. Um, so yeah, I definitely recommend asking questions. And you know what, I kind of want to bring that back. I know I just got rid of that little piece there on the edge. It's like, I don't know that I really need to. Let's go ahead and do something kind of like that. In fact, what we'll do as well is I'm going to go ahead and take this and say, boom, boom, just so that they're not like right on top of each other. Um, okay. So now here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to bridge these together. Okay, that way I have an extra poly group that I'm working with. Um, yeah, I think kind of like Leonard's talking about, um, being able to go through and kind of like blur your eyes a little bit, like kind of blur your vision. That'll definitely help with like shape and simplifying things, because when you're looking at something with like your full vision, I think a lot of times as viewers we tend to get lost in the details. We tend to get lost in the picture as a whole, rather than, and it's like I'm trying to figure out kind of how to phrase this, because this is powerful. It's like really being able to simplify what it is that you see. Like, is like, for instance, right now, like, I mean, if I squint my eyes, I mean, I can see like the rectangle of the computer screen that I'm working on, and I can see like the circle of the webcam that's right here. It's like there are these very graphic shapes. Um, and I guess kind of thinking to yourself, like, when you see shape, or when you see corners, or when you see roundness, or pointed edges in a design, you can ask yourself what it is that makes you feel, what it is that it makes you think. Is that character approachable? If you look at the silhouette of something from forever away or whatever, you can ask yourself. Well, that was not what I wanted to do. Um, you can ask yourself, like, is this character trustworthy? What is it that I can understand about them because of how they look? Um, ask yourself questions about where the character comes from, maybe what they believe, what they feel, based on little context clues that you can pick up. Um, being able to do things like that is going to be super handy to you um, as you develop your observation skills, as you develop your, everything, right? Um, that's about how I wanted that, so that's great. Maybe a little bit deeper. Maybe not. I don't know. That's fine. We'll keep it. We'll keep it like that. But yeah, I think it's all about asking questions like, what is it about something that makes it appealing? Rhythm and movement, composition in the design. You think about what is it that makes your eyes move? Okay, so different things like variation in size or contrast. So contrast can happen in all sorts of ways. Contrast of shape, style, right? So you can get contrast in a way of like getting big versus small, few versus many, black versus white, or other contrasting colors, right? You get like yellow and purple, you get blue and orange, those sorts of things, right? You get different shapes, round versus straight or sharp, or square, those sorts of things. So you get like these different elements that come into creating a visual language. You think about characters that were done successfully. So you could think about characters like, I don't want that to happen. Oops, that's too much. Characters like Poe from I was gonna say How to Train Your Dragon. That's not right. From Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, I'll make the face that's on the magazine. Um, I mean, the face on the magazine will probably just end up being the same as the character itself, but it'll be a render on the magazine. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'll work that out, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so here's something that I want to do. I want to take this. Oh, pardon me. And I'm actually going to say, let's delete this poly and this poly. And then I want to stitch to midpoint. Shoot. First point, second point, first point, second point, first point, second point. Okay, and it should in theory be the same on both sides, so I'm going to check it, but yeah, sweet. Modify topology, mirror and weld, just to make sure that it's the same on both sides. I'm going to real quick, because I just want this to be the same. I want it to kind of go up into this simple edge loop. I'm going to say close. Yeah, that'll work for now. Just grab this, control click and drag, and now, in fact, we can even go ahead and we can say center this, kind of shrink it in some. So you can see now we've got this nice loop going around. Okay, so now we delete that. We can say delete hidden. Oops, say mask edge loop partial. But yeah, really, like it's all about learning how to observe and learning how to pick things apart. Because a lot of times you'll you'll see a movie, you'll even reading books or reading comics or playing a video game or other things like that, there are going to be times where you're trying to think and pick things apart and be like, why is this so appealing? Why do people like this? Why do I like this? What do I like about it? And by asking those sorts of questions and trying to really pick it apart, like thinking about who the demographic is that they're trying to target, who's their target audience, right? You think about, Disneyland is a good example. If you've ever been to Disneyland or some other sort of theme park, you can look around the park and be like, okay, so this area is definitely designed for kids. This area is definitely designed for people who are older, right? Just based on the kinds of rides or the kinds of characters. Look at that. Beautiful. It's like we've got a chair here now. Wow. We have a spot at the table. Now we got to go through and kind of make some extra little bits in here to make this feel right. But yeah, so think about those sorts of things, right? So much to really consider when making this sort of stuff work. And that's okay. That's okay. It's part of the process. So again, it's kind of trusting that process and figuring out, all right, so I know that I want to make something that connects with somebody. Feel free to dig into your feelings, to dig into your experiences, to dig into your culture. Feel free to dig into other people's cultures, reference things, really study things out. This particular project is based off of a single image, so it's like I'm not really super worried about digging into a whole bunch of different things. And I probably will reference things more here and there depending on what it is that I feel like I need. But it's really kind of I don't know, it's all about just finding ways to help yourself think in as effective of a way as possible. Oh, here comes the rain. Bring on the rain. I'm gonna need to get some more points along here, I think. I have no idea what my daughter's watching downstairs. It sounds so weird. At a certain point, I'll probably turn off symmetry. I'm not sure that I'm super worried about it quite yet, though. Okay, let me see. Let's say extrude. Actually, let's not say extrude. Let's turn on the dynamic. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to say, how do I want to play this? Because I do want to make sure that this is going to have enough of a support. Let's not add that in, but I think adding that in will be just fine. So let's go ahead and grab this. Let's just kind of round this corner off so that it's not just like this singular depth of a point. This way it actually has some volume to it, and it helps so that when I add the thickness to it, it should hopefully allow me to keep some clean surfaces. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of pull out some of these points here. Pull that out, pull that out, pull that out. Okay. So now when I commit it, it's got a little bit more of a roundness to it. I think that that'll probably work pretty well. But the thickness for now is probably a little bit too high. So let's kind of take it down a little bit. We'll say apply. So now we've got a little bit better of a form here. We just got to decide whether or not it's too much standing off of that, like standing off too much of that chair. It looks like it's all right. Here, let's do something. Let's turn off the thickness. Let's turn up some subdivisions here. That looks good. That looks good. I'll keep it. Let's kind of lower this down a little bit so that it feels a little bit more straight across. Let's go ahead and mask that off, and we can kind of lower this down just a little bit further. Cool. We have a chair. So now we have a chair that our character can sit in. There are still things that we want to do to be able to make this chair work. Let me get to your question just a second, Manny, because that's a good question. Much calming, very calm. Modeling is therapeutical. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? You're gonna make the face since it's covered by the magazine? Yeah. So yeah, okay. I already answered that question. I guess. I use the modeler like all the time, so it's like having that going. It's just it's nice. I really like Z modeler. That being said, I mean I'm totally cool with you not liking it. But yeah, I use it all the time at work, and it's fantastic. I do want this to be a little bit softer, so I'm just going to kind of soften the edges a little bit here. Maybe we'll soften the edges up here a little bit more too. Just kind of have some fun with it. Now I think we can go through and kind of like reshape this a little bit, because I feel like there's kind of like this width. There's this the breadth of the top of this section right here. It feels a little bit more broad. So I'm gonna try to get that just a little bit more. I might even try like lowering this top section. I feel like yeah, it feels a little bit better. It feels a little bit better. What do you guys think? Yeah. I think we're going somewhere. Oh, where are we going, you say? Well, it's not to Disneyland. Cool. Cool. Although it does sound kind of fun. I am going to add in an edge loop right here. And an edge loop. Actually, maybe what I'll do first, let's do this real quick. I'm just going to run a smoothing brush along this edge. Just to maybe that's a little bit too much. Oh, that's not quite what I want. That's not quite what I want. So what I want is I want to kind of make sure that that edge stays a little bit round. I don't want it to get too sharp like this. So we're just gonna kind of hit this with the smooth again. Oops. Give it a little bit more of that sort of swooping shape. I do want this to have kind of a curve coming down, and then almost a little bit of a curve right there too, and maybe a little bit of like an angle out here. It's all about kind of trying to create this sense of motion, create this sense, make the chair feel a little bit more dynamic. I mean, it's just a chair, but I want it to feel interesting. And so I'm trying to think about ways, one, to make it feel a little bit more like the concept, like the reference image here. And then two, just to make it feel a little bit more, I mean, I'll have to go through and think about other ways to make it feel a bit more stylized. And a lot of that might come into the way that I handle... Use the force. The way that I handle things like maybe the way that I handle the piping, maybe the way that I handle, I don't know, there maybe textures, maybe the way that I handle textures will be a bit more stylized. Maybe I find other ways to be able to push the shape. I don't know, I'll have to kind of figure this out. Here, let's go ahead and maybe take this. I'll inflate it all generally just a little bit. And then I'll take my regular inflate brush and just kind of puff it up a little bit. Smooth it out some, puff it up, smooth it out. Okay, let's kind of hide our character again so we don't have to be looking around her. Like that's feeling pretty cool. I'm liking that. I'm really happy with where this is at so far. The thing that I want to figure out is whether I like the high skirt or let's go ahead and let's duplicate this out. Let's say rename this to skirt. Rename this. Okay, good. To feet. Okay, that way we have different things named appropriately. Okay, let's go ahead and take this. I'm going to try making a short skirt and a long jacket. try turning on all these materials so that we can see it all in a uniform color. What do you think? Short skirt, long skirt? I think I like the long skirt better personally. Okay, so how do you move only one point with that big of a brush? So I think what I was doing, if I'm not mistaken, I'll use the here, let's use the long skirt. What I did is I essentially went through and I Control Shift Tap on the edges with the selection lasso. I Control A to be able to mask everything, and then I just bring everything back visibility wise, and then I'm able to go ahead and just, you know, control just one row, or, you know, like a really, you know, this way I don't have to worry about affecting anything other than what's actually available. I can't remember exactly what it was I might have been working on that would have been a single point control thing. But yeah, let me see. Let me see. Bevel, edge loop partial, maybe. Cool. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to want to use. 2 rows. And then I'll just make like a piping up here, I think. Maybe. No, let's go ahead and let's say insert single edge loop. I don't know. Let's not insert. Let's do this again. Let's go ahead and we'll say bow, just to be able to test this out, right? Bow sounds pretty good right now. Bring this back. We'll say deformation. We'll say inflate. Just kind of pull this in a little bit so that way it creates a little bit of a seam for us. Technically, for this section right here, this yellow section on the base, that would technically have some sort of seam kind of running along through right here. I'm not gonna worry about it because we're not ever gonna see it. But this helps this a lot to have that sort of a finished look, right? Pull this down just a smidge because I want to get a little bit more of a lip there. I want to control, in fact, let's just control it this way. We'll just add in an extra edge loop here, and that helps to add that sense. I mean, I do feel like this is a little bit more delicate, so let's keep it delicate. That feels pretty nice. That feels pretty nice. Let's go ahead. Let's add in, since we're here, we might as well, right? Let's go over here. I'm going to select this outer piece of the, and let's go ahead and turn on the double so we can see it. I'm just going to hit 7. So you can see like this goes through and it put a stroke around the whole outside of that poly group. Really nice, really simple. And now what I can do, and let's bring everything back. I can pull out simple curve. This is a brush that I made myself. It's just really simple. Let's use this 45 open. It's just a 45-degree angle, so it's going to be drawing out this this extruded square brush at an angle, so that it's not going to be, you know, completely straight. So let's say 45 angle, that's that. I need to make sure my brush is an appropriate size for that piping. Smaller. Uh-oh. No! No! For reals? Come on, that was such an easy thing to do. Now, honestly, that has been something that has happened to me regularly lately. Drives me nuts. Go ahead. ZBrush crashed. It decided it didn't want to come to work today. But it's okay. I've got a recovered tool, so we should be just fine. I'm going to save this. In fact, let's go ahead and we'll level up. She's Caitlin Wing. Indeed. Oh, I didn't want to import an image. I did want to, however, load the spotlight. And let's move this up like we had done before. Texture, save spotlight. We're just going to save over the old one. Cool. Okay, so let me try something else. Try a different brush, maybe. Let's use curved tube. I do want to make sure that the curved tube brush is set to be not too heavy, because right now by default it's going to have 20 subdivisions going around the outside of that tube. So I'm going to grab this brush modifier. I'm going to adjust that to 8 because that'll work nicely for my needs. Let's make sure that this brush size is appropriate to tubing, to the piping. And then I also want to make sure curve step. I'm just going to set this up to 1. I don't need it to be 0.5. Purely because I'm paranoid now. Like, did I save? Yeah, it is a novel concept. There we go. So there's some piping, but it's a little bit thick, so I'm just going to undo. It's actually quite a bit thick. And the piping itself, it's like it's really dense. There's a lot of topology in there. So maybe what we do is we'll come in here instead and we'll say curve step, set that up to 2 or something like that. So that it's oh nice. How about that? That's better. So that it has, half as many polygons. Size-wise, that's much more in line with what I wanted. So that'll be good. Let's say split unmasked points. Cushion. Oh. Piping. And then we'll go back up to the cushion and we'll say turn on the dynamic view. You can see there are some points where this is not quite matching up, which is, you know, fine, but it's, you know, something we're going to want to fix. I'm going to add in a subdivision level on the actual cushion, and then let's go down to the piping itself, and we're just going to manually set this a little bit better. Okay, I want this to follow the actual cushion. So it's just kind of part of the process, right? Right. I'm gonna reassure myself it's part of the process. I don't have to suffer. Unwittingly. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a thing. It's like, it's in part it's because of the geometry resolution matchup, where like the piping has a ton of geometry to it. It's got all these extra little loops going around this way, right? So lots of points going along here, so it's a much smoother curve. Whereas with these bigger pieces, there are not nearly as many edge loops going through, and so it's more faceted. So there's a bit of a disconnect between the acceleration of, you know, or like the I'll say the shape of the curve. There's a disconnect between the shape of the cushion itself and the shape of the piping because of the level of resolution. So this is just part of the process of being able to go through and fix it. You just go through manually and push points. But that's what we're here for, right? ZBrush. It's part of the process, part of the fun. Oh, that was weird. Okay. I'm going to math these out. Since they have different poly groups, I can control different, like each set of piping on its own. Makes things pretty simple. So that looks pretty nice. I think I want to add some piping around here as well. Let's hit save. Because, you know, that's how we do. Since we have this at a point that I quite like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit, let's take off the smooth preview. Let's hit Control D. Hit delete lower, because one of the things that I'm going to want to do, in fact we might even have to come over here and I'll leave that how it is. It's fine. One of the things I'm going to have to do is here, let's do this. I'm going to insert an edge loop here. Let's go ahead and get our brushes back. Deformation, inflate in the negative. Oh, not too much. In the negative, not too much direction. Cool. So now that's got a seam there, and that's looking really cool. That works really nicely. And it's not perfect, but it's, you know, I'm not trying to do this for Crate and Barrel. I'm doing this for me. C'est comme ça. It's just the way it is. Okay. So here's one of the things I want to do. I want to go ahead and I want to make sure that all these loops, I want to make sure these are pretty even, which means I'm going to want to get rid of one or two of these. I got to see kind of where it is that we land. But I do want these to be pretty square going up. Move that up just a smidge. Get rid of that one. And I'll leave that one because that's kind of supporting the shape of the top. So everything else should be good. You know, we smooth it out. It looks great, right? So what I want to do, okay, I want to take... I've got to try to decide how... well, one, I'll decide where it is that I want to be able to put these. And then the other thing that I want to do is I want to also split things out. So I'll come in here and I'll say bevel, you know, and do things like that. But I want to be able to do this in a way that... Here, let's hit expand. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead, let's start putting these in. Now here's the thing I want to make sure of, is that was only a single row. I want 2 rows. Just keep it nice and thin. Something like that, maybe. Say every other one. Nice, that'll work. That'll work. I can accept that. And we also want to go down. Okay. Control Shift S. Oh, I just did Control Shift X to grow visible, and then Control Shift S to shrink it. So this will hopefully help me to make everything that I need. Okay, something kind of like that. Okay, let's go ahead and mask out the back. Oops. Kind of soften out that mask. What I want to do, actually, let's go ahead and we'll mask out the bottom too. Control Shift X, Control A, just so that way the bottom stays where it is. I want to make sure that this isn't flowing upward too much. Specifically kind of here in the middle. Because I feel like it's getting to a point where it's... Here, maybe I just need to move this end up a little bit. It's like I want to try to make sure that this area, that it just feels and it flows properly, right? In fact, maybe it needs to go up an extra row. Let's do that. Go up 2, 3, and we'll call that fairly all right. It does need to be kind of arced anyway, so this looks like this might possibly work. Hey Kareem, how you doing? Been about a week since I've seen you. let's go ahead and start pulling off all these little beveled pieces and see what we can. I want to probably go through and like unify my my bevels here, just so that they are all the same poly group. Let's make sure we got this all the same way we want this. It looks good. Okay. So you see there's kind of our pattern. I'm going to hit inflate, just inflate this in the negative direction here. You know what, let's start off, oh shoot. It keeps like jumping as soon as I let go. Stop it. -1. Okay. Now I'm going to soften it and see if I can get, oops, that's not what I want. Soften it. Oh, you know what? I don't have my samples turned off yet. It's like, that's what happens when everything kind of crashes. You have to go through and make everything work again. Let's kind of do something like that for now. Okay. So now these little points here, I'm going to want to use like my, maybe my move topological. Oh, I forgot to. Take all these. And make them the same poly group. It's like when you forget. Okay, that should be. There we go. Okay, that should be good now. All right. Now we can go in and we can kind of push in on some of these other points and pull out on others. Let's start by kind of pushing in on the corners. Maybe make my brush a little bit smaller so that I can control this a little bit more, maybe. Hopefully, possibly. Tal vez, quizás. Now, I don't know if this is exact to the number of points associated with the buttons on the actual chair, but it's okay. It's okay. It's a personal project. Like I said, it's not for Crate and Barrel. I don't have to worry about that. Kind of add this in. Okay, so this is kind of what this is looking like so far, right? Still a lot of work left to do. And I need, let's go ahead and kind of soften this just slightly so that we don't have too obnoxious of creases in here. Okay. There we go. But we do want to really emphasize these button spots. So I'm just using the inflate brush and using the invert, the alternative function. Using Alt to be able to make that inflate in a negative direction. And that's giving me a really nice little effect here. I gotta try to decide what it is I'm going to do to be able to make the actual buttons. Let's go ahead and check out the chair as a whole. Looks pretty nice. Looks very posh. Um, in a lot of ways, show up when I can. Me too. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's looking good. That's working for me. Um, I do feel like I possibly have too many and they're too, too small, but oh well. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see if we can. Let's restore our quads by coming in here. We'll just say delete an edge. And we'll just delete the edge that's in the corner. I mean, it's not really super necessary, so I don't know. I might go back and say, oh well, and kind of take it, walk myself back. But I mean, this is something that's a very common practice for me, is to go through and make sure um, that I have all quads as much as possible. There are occasions, and especially with like hard surface models, things that are not quite, that aren't organic, where I don't have to worry about it so much, where I'll allow it to be more of a, what's it called? Allow it to have triangles occasionally. But that's only if I like really just don't have time to be able to work those things out. Like when I'm working on something for production, I'll often have like really, what is that pattern called? That's a good question. I actually don't know. Leonard might know though. Do you know what the pattern's called here, Leonard? um, Bubble cushion. I don't know. But yeah, I try to meet my deadlines as best I can, especially if like it's a really complicated model, because there will be those times where it's way too complicated and it's just you got to figure out kind of what battles to fight and whatnot. Let's put this down to like 50. It feels about right. So what I'm doing is I start to drag out the button, and then if I hold control as I'm dragging it out, it snaps it to the size of the brush. It's so handy. I'm trying to drag them out in about the same direction, so that way so that way it just makes sense. Those buttons, I feel like I want them to be their own piece, their own subtool. So let's go ahead and say split unmasked points. Yeah, I know the things. Oh, unmasked. That's why. Okay, so it's split hidden. Sorry, I meant to hit split hidden and not the. That's funny. Okay, so now we've got our full chair. Ta-da! I mean, if I wanted to, I could get into more details of like putting the batting underneath, not batting, what's that called? Like the just the covering on the bottom and things like that. Um, I'm not too terribly worried about doing crazy things, but what we could do is we could use things like we could use our pinch brush to kind of create this sense of some like wrinkles. Okay, so you can see that. I'm just using the alternative function with the pinch brush, and it's helping me to create this effect where it's got a like a fold or a wrinkle. Here, you know what? Let's kind of do this, and then we'll kind of nudge this so that it's not parallel. I'm going to come down here and say delete lower. So now if I smooth it out, you can see those wrinkles at play. I feel like that might be too much. So let's kind of like pull it out some. Something like that feels pretty good. Cool. So now it looks ready to be sat in. One of the other things that we can do is that this right now feels really regular. Okay, so I'm gonna try splitting out my symmetry, and we're going to let's use the inflate brush. Let's try this. We'll just kind of inflate in some places more than others. I'm kind of trying to do this kind of haphazardly, but at the same time also trying to figure out exactly what it is that I'm searching for. Because a lot of what I'm getting out of this is going to be very yeah, I don't know. It's fairly simple, but it's just a matter of trying to work out the mesh a little bit. Maybe I'll kind of push and pull things a bit so that I get a bit uneven of a surface here. Turn off symmetry for the buttons so that I can kind of move that around. There we go. Kind of interesting. What's the point of updating? I only see Redshift as what would have been a reason to, but to be honest, if I can't buy Redshift without a subscription, it's just not worth it. It's something that you'll have to kind of weigh out for yourself personally. I mean, I'm sure at some point there won't really be a choice, but I think that the big thing that you want to weigh out is what do you need to be able to do. Okay, so for myself, I need to be able to stream. I need ZBrush for personal projects. I need it for freelance. I need it, it's like there are certain things that I need ZBrush for. I haven't upgraded yet because one, I haven't had the time. I mean, it just came out this week. Right? Sounds right. The Redshift stuff is pretty slick. It's pretty neat. I mean, there's a lot to it to make it so that it works exactly the way you want it to, but it has controls. There are things that you can do to make it so that it's doing exactly what you want it to do. But besides that, I mean, there are some cool modeling tools that have come out. They have their, I'm trying to remember what they called it. The stringy one. The um yeah, I forgot exactly what it's called. Um but it's helpful. So it's one of those things that you do want to weigh out the, I'll say, the cost of having the upgrade, because it does cost money. But think about what it is that you need it for, and eventually, I'm pretty sure it will probably be something that is, I'll say, charged. Something that is needed. That you need to upgrade just because of the way that the company progresses. Um, that eventually they'll stop supporting the older versions, and just the way that software tends to roll. Um, I personally super love Pixelogic and have super appreciated them. They've been really, really kind to me, and they've been very welcoming. Um, great people, and great fun family to belong to. Um, yeah, there's some new symmetry functionalities too. Thank you. That's a good one to remember. Um, yeah, let's go ahead and save this while we're talking. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of what I would consider is what are your needs personally. I think I'm going to call this good for today because I've got to do some Saturday. But yeah, so now we've got a chair and we've got a character. Um, I do need to model her lingerie, her throw, her shawl, whatever you want to call that. Um, so that's something that I gotta go through and make. I'm trying to figure out. I'll probably go ahead and make it in the T pose like this, and then pose it. But yeah, I just gotta figure out. I just gotta figure out kind of what that's supposed to look like. Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. I mean, it's been a blast, and I have a ton of fun streaming with you guys, and spending the time. It's Here's the chair, here's the character. In fact, let's kind of lower that, turn off the chair, the boots. So that's where we're at right now. These are our elements. At some point, I'll go ahead and I'll model out the magazine. In fact, I thought about going through and having it so that it's open instead of her just having the magazine closed in front of her face. I just feel like it feels a lot less natural that way. Um, I'll model out the lingerie shawl piece, the robe piece, and we'll see kind of how this goes. I will not be streaming. I don't think I'll be streaming on my personal channel today. Pues de nada, Huma. um, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. There are some things that I kind of want to be able to do with my Saturday. We'll see if we can get to everything. Um, that's where we're at. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I always have fun, and I'm always grateful when people come and hang out with me. So thanks for coming. And gosh, I will see y'all next time I see you. Smartest out.